A very warm welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You. I'm your host, Aditi Kumar, and today I have the opportunity to bring to you a very special guest, Pawan Raj Kumar. Pawan is an entrepreneur and a startup evangelist. He started his career at family business, Continental Equipment, that was into setting up commercial kitchens. Pawan grew that business internationally and also founded businesses like Active Karma, Continental Systems, Hoy Foods, and Misht. Pawan has been an angel investor for over a decade now and has led an early stage syndicate called VG Angels, which has invested in over 40 companies to date. And currently, Pawan is building a sustainability focused fund called ZeCa Capital. He deeply believes that sustainability is everything. The way we consume, produce, purchase, work, travel, everything has to be done in a sustainable way. So that's how his professional bio reads, but I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into a little bit more about him. Pawan is also an upcoming author and a poet, and I really hope we'll get a glimpse into that side of him as well in our conversation today. So welcome, Pawan. It's such a joy to host you today.
Thank you so much, Aditi. It was such a wonderful introduction. I couldn't have done anything better than that. Yeah, so thanks for also introducing me as a poet.
Yeah, so this was my latest discovery of you, and then I was like, hey, we must capture a little bit of this in our conversation today. So yes, let's see where we can sneak that in a little bit. But before we get started, Pawan, of course, I have like a set of questions that I want to ask you. I just want to quickly share, which I tell all my guests, a little bit of my day job, which is executive coaching, leadership development, etc. It also sneaks into my conversations here on this podcast. I have always been really fascinated by the inner landscape of accomplished leaders and been deeply interested in their inner journeys while the world is witnessing the outer accomplishments. So even today, that's the trajectory that our conversation will take. And how does that sound to you?
Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Never uh, done such kind of podcast before. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting. Look forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. No, great, great. Thank you so much. Thank you. So let's get started. And, to begin with, what I had in mind as a starting point was you've worn many hats, from scaling your family business to building cloud kitchen networks, investing in startups. So when you look back, what do you feel that your entrepreneurial journey has been about? Like at a human level, what does it feel like to you when you look back?
Um, I think the whole journey has been about, if I have to put it like that, it's about being curious about learning, right? So it's about ability to keep myself always excited about learning something new, solving new challenges, solving new problems. And I think that is something which I've always been in love with. That sort of inspires me to continue on the entrepreneurship journey as well. Um, and I think that's pretty much a key to building a business, being a problem solver. I guess that helped me.
Yeah, yeah. So constantly learning, constantly solving problems, and probably not looking at problems as obstacles, but actually, something in the course of the day, it's there and you have to move past it and get to the next day. In fact, a little bit that excerpt that I have been reading in a little bit of, a sneak peek that you've given me into your book, I think somewhere you do talk about your love for learning and problem solving, and I think that's what got captured in this answer as well. So in essence, when you look at life, you see learnings and you see problem solving and you see moving forward with that. Have I got that right?
No, absolutely. I think you said it very rightly that the essence is really about solving the problems. Now, nobody is going to live a life without having problems, leave alone building a business. So there are going to be a lot of issues, and I keep saying that one should embrace suffering. And if you do that, you know that is going to happen, right? So I think you might have read that part in my book when I also talk about this lesson. Karna kya hai, right? So every time there is a problem in front of you, I am one of those guys who would always say, "Acha ho gaya, ab karna kya hai? Let's just focus on that." I think that is one of my important and probably essential lessons from my journey so far. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And I'm also hearing this doer in you, that net करना क्या है, like अब आगे बढ़ के
Yeah.
करना क्या है, like
Yeah.
that's kind of, thank you for sharing that, Pawan. So the next question that I had in mind, again moving the same on the same trajectory that we set for ourselves, which is the inner landscape of leaders. Thinking about your earlier years, even before your IIT, IIM days, there must be some beliefs you must be carrying about your work, what success means, what risk looks like, or even the identity that you carry with you. Which of those early beliefs uh, resonate with you still today, and which ones did you have to challenge or shed or discard in the years? Would you share a
Oh,
little bit about that?
yeah. So, first of all, getting into IIT and staying in IIT uh, was very hard. So, uh,
Why?
no, it
Getting
was tough, right? So,
okay.
when you if you're a genius, it's easy. If you're not, then you have to work very hard. You have to slog, and I think 90% of us were sloggers in IIT. I was one of them. I was not the genius. Uh, so it was very tough. But once you start to love that, as I said, embrace suffering. Once you start doing that, then you are actually fine with it, and it keeps coming, and you keep solving or just letting it go. So that attitude has stayed with me. I think I've already said that. What has also stayed on with me is curiosity. I love learning things just for the sake of learning. I was always interested in science. I was always interested in how things happen, why things happen. So I continue to ask those questions, and I continue to read about it, ask about it. So I think that has stayed with me forever. Um, One thing which has sort of has been changing though, um, over the years, I have started to um, think of luck as something which is real. I
Oh, okay.
I never believed in luck, and I think going through the entrepreneurship, you spoke about some of the ventures here, and I have also mentored over 100 entrepreneurs and have seen failures and more failures than success. Uh, so I have also written about this in my book, what luck is, and I come to believe that there is something called luck. I've tried to define that in the book, and so I'm a bit of a believer now. I think that's changing.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yes. So, what I'm taking away is that, of course, hard work, sense of curiosity, constantly learning, problem solving, those are some things that you believed in even in your early years. And even today, they hold you in good stead. And something which has changed is probably earlier you didn't believe in luck, but now you do. And also seems like you have your own definition of luck as well. There is
I
something,
do.
there is a unique way in which you define luck. And if you're comfortable, maybe if you could share a little bit about that with us. So, what
Oh
is
yeah,
luck for you?
definitely. Yeah, I love to do that. This is my favorite topic now.
Okay, sure,
Uh,
sure.
so, uh, so I see luck in as two different things. One is what you could say the hand you are dealt, right? The set of cards that you have in your hand, and you can't really change that what you get, but you can change the future of that, right? So you can change your cards, you can work hard and improve on that. But so the hand you are dealt is luck. Um, so for example, you are you've gone for a holiday on the beach and it rains, and then you say, all right, I'm screwed. This is not what I came for. And you can keep blaming everybody around that. And you can say, oh, I had bad luck, right? But you could also say that, okay, it's raining here. Maybe there's a better place to go. And why not change that? Or maybe I can just walk in the rain, right? So who has ever done that before on the beach? So, and you change things. So that was luck if you did not change it. So this is one. Second, luck. The way I define luck is timing, and that's something more to do with entrepreneurship. So when you're launching a product, you're launching a business, you're launching an idea, you don't know that its time has come until you actually launch it. If you get the timing right, like few months before the trend is starting, you are there with your product, you'll have a huge success, right? So that's another kind of luck. Most of the time you've seen that there'll be a lot of people who would have launched their businesses way ahead of their time, right? It's
Yeah.
not that the idea was bad. Big Basket is a great example. The same concept was launched in 99 2000, didn't do well. In 2008 became a huge success. Same people repeated it, right? So
Absolutely.
they did not believe that they should be thrown away out of the system because their timing was wrong. They waited for the time to come again, and they relaunched with the same idea, and we can see the success. So these are the two ways I define
Yeah,
luck.
very, very interesting. Very interesting. So the second one is a little bit more tangible and therefore, probably easier to understand that timing and the way you also spoke about the entrepreneurial space, the timing of a product and the likelihood of it becoming a success and therefore it being
Yeah.
synonymous to luck. Even the first one was very interesting. So maybe we'll deep dive into it later at some later point as well. But
Okay.
what I took away was that any circumstances that presents itself to you, you have the
Mhm.
ability to engage with it in a certain manner. Whether you, if it's not really optimum, then do you choose to become a victim and you look at, hey, like this is going wrong, that is going wrong, blaming things, blaming people, or you choose to have a stance which suddenly turns that around and makes it work for you. So draining, and then the fact that you said that, hey, can I go for a walk in the rain, or is there something else that I can explore? Can I have? And again, your learning and problem solving, all of that comes in as well for
Yeah.
me. So somewhere
Yeah.
making your own luck or changing your own luck. So there is luck, but you also have some sense of control, which we have as human beings to navigate through it. Am I getting it right? I'm
Yeah,
just
absolutely right. Perfectly
okay.
right. So
Okay.
one, you have to choose that, right? You choose to say that, okay, this
Yeah.
problem has happened, and I have to solve for it. There is nobody in the world who does not have problems,
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
it's the
Absolutely.
way you look at it, and then
Yeah.
not blame luck. So there is a friend of mine. I've also interviewed him for the book, and this is his line. So he says that there is something called good luck, but there is no such thing as bad luck.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. So basically, bad luck, you need to analyze if something goes wrong, figure out why it went wrong, and what
Hmm.
should you do now. So if you don't do that, then you can blame somebody and say it was bad luck. But he says there is
Yeah.
no such thing as bad luck. I have to move
Yeah.
ahead from that.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, there would be much, I'm sure you've written more about it, but for me, what I'm taking away is that it actually helps you in preserving your own sense of agency at any point in time, right? Even this stance, there is good luck, but no such thing as bad luck, because then, it brings the onus back to the person that,
Yeah,
what did you do? What did you do when that happened?
absolutely.
What a lovely insight, Pawan. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm going to just shift gears a little bit and move on with a couple of more questions that I have for you. So, just moving to, there is this whole concept of, um, you know, identity that I have been fascinated with as well, especially for leaders like yourself who do a lot, who have done a lot of different things, etc. Like, for instance, you have moved across contexts, right? Like family business, then you've launched ventures like Hoy Foods, CPG brands such as Misht, and now you're also mentoring founders. So, with all these different roles, what feels like your deepest sense of self today? Like, what is the version of Pawan that you feel is most constant? Like this is Pawan. How would you answer that?
Um, yeah, so I think I did all of these things and I continue to do new things because I like the challenges. I like to get to depth of things to learn about it, and those challenges. This writing a book was a challenge as well, uh, which I took it upon myself. And similarly, and that's completely stayed with me because I've been writing poems for like forever my life. And another thing which has stayed because of the same attitude, I guess, is my love for sports fitness and nature, right? So I like to go to places where nobody goes and or few people go. It's like it's curiosity or challenge, whatever you like to call. I think those are the things which have stayed with me in all walks of life.
Sure, sure. So and that's so that would be a very defining part of your identity. Like no matter whether Pawan is a investor or whether he's a mentor or whether he's building brands, but he is somebody who's constantly driven by curiosity and his love for challenge. Something like that.
Yeah,
Like that's the identity that you would hold the closest to yourself.
yeah. I think I would love to be identified as that.
Okay, okay, okay. And I think, so what I also I'm going to double click later is I didn't know that you've been writing poems for a long time. I thought it's a newish thing, but looks like you have this poetry has been a part of you for a long time. That's what you said. Uh,
Yeah, it has been with me forever. I think in my third, when I was 8 years old, when I was in third standard, I got the award for first award for Hindi poetry.
oh,
So I'd already written a poem at that time. I don't
okay.
remember what that was, but I
Wow.
continued to write. Yeah, so you know, it's a part of me where whenever I'm asking for more philosophical answers, I learn and put that down in my words in poetry. And Hindi comes naturally to me, so my poetry is in Hindi.
Sure, sure. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm again going to just go on with my next question that I had for you. And this is something again which I feel I work with entrepreneurs. I have I have had entrepreneurs in my family, seen entrepreneurial setups very closely, etc. And one of the things that I really felt very challenging about and though I would say I'm a small time entrepreneur myself now, made that plunge a couple of years back. And one thing that I always knew, and now I'm seeing it play out as well, is more around resilience. Like, you will be beaten down, there will be tough days. And then how do you bounce back? It becomes like super important. So, for example, when I was looking at your career trajectory, the cloud kitchens, when you started, when you were a part of that landscape as well. So, cloud kitchens were a very relatively new model, a lot of change, scaling challenges, intense competition, etc. Uh, as someone who has seen trends shift so closely and someone who has navigated pivots, like you launched a premium brand like Khyber Bhatti and then, moved on from there, etc. What is your take on resilience, change for an entrepreneur or life in general? What are your thoughts around resilience and change?
I think these are very important uh, aspects of an entrepreneur. Sorry, my whole journey is about entrepreneurship and learnings around that. So,
Of course.
resilience is probably one of the most important assets an entrepreneur can have. You probably are already experiencing it. You pray that every evening you end it on a high because throughout the day there are highs and lows that keep happening, and there's so many things which are not under your control. It's There's so many moving parts in building a business, and you make Excel sheets which never turn out to be true. So I think One is resilience, and the other thing, the change, I think, is not only um, a true thing, but I think it's a very important thing. After all, we are building something to change something. So our whole ecosystem is about changing. You know, we talk a lot. I mean, I also am part of. I lead a course in entrepreneurship in IIT, and one of the sessions in that course is about pivots. Pivots are essential. Whatever idea you started with is not going to be 6 months later, because the world will change, the markets will change, policies will change. So your ability to adapt to that change and pivot your business into something bigger is where success is. I can tell you, like, probably there is 99% of people who've succeeded in their entrepreneurship journeys are people who have pivoted with, right? Or maybe 1% didn't have to, but the others
Yeah,
had to.
yeah.
So change is important. I think is essential. So might as well be ready
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And and as you rightly said, that as entrepreneurs, I think we are also constantly alert on about what's happening. Is there a new problem to solve, or is there something I can do differently already in the problem that I'm solving through my
Yeah.
services and my products, etc. So that becomes extremely critical. And resilience, which I think we both agree on. Every day there are new highs and new lows, and we have to constantly figure out ways to navigate those. But I think still I would say that the highs still take care of the lows, because the high that you feel is on a very soul level. You
Yes.
feel, you just
Yes.
feel that something has really touched your soul, and
Yeah.
that keeps you going even in the low times. I mean, I'm just sharing my own experience as well, but
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you
yeah.
you're in that for some kicks, right? And
Yeah.
once when you get that, everything else is
Yes,
forgotten.
yes. You're like, worth it hai. For this moment. I think all the pain and all of that is worth it. So, good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
you're resonating with me. A seasoned entrepreneur like you is resonating with me, is giving me a lot of motivation as well in this moment, I must admit.
That's nice.
So yeah. So Pawan, I'm also going to pivot a little bit, and this is also one of my favorite questions for leaders like yourself, entrepreneurs, leaders like yourself. World has a very set way of defining success, right? Of course, there is, and financials are a huge part of it. You know, how much money you make, how much fund you raise, how what's the valuation like, etc., etc. But I'm curious to know that, and of course that's important. I'm not denying that that's not a important benchmark to have, or measure to have for our businesses. But other than that, like for you, for example, personally at different stages of your career, what is the inner scorecard that you use to define success in every phase? And beyond numbers, what did you use?
Yeah. So we agreed on the numbers part. Um, I think for me, and I have spoken about it quite a few times. What is very important is what am I improving? Uh,
Mm,
am I really doing something to make the world a little better? Right. Um, so I actually call this. I have a name for this concept. I call it delta I. So delta is a small difference, and in maths or physics, and I is for improvement, which I talk about. So uh, if I'm able to make any small improvements, I think that's a very big achievement for me. Making money, there are various ways of doing that, right? I can make money out of stock market. I'm not
yeah.
changing anything, right? There is no creativity in that. So, am I bringing a new idea or a new thought or a new technology or a new product or a new science into the system? Uh, then I feel much better about what I'm doing. So I think that is one of my inner scores, and I have always questioned that. Why am I doing this? What is it changing? So yeah, that's what it will be for me. Delta I.
Sure, sure. Very interesting way of capturing it, and of course maths, physics, very common nomenclature there, but still I think for maybe I'll kind of steal this from you a little bit and use it in my conversations with my clients as well.
Please do that.
Delta
I
I
have not
as
get
a
into
yeah.
it.
And yeah, and I'm also thinking that while you're saying, and tell me if I'm getting it correctly. So this marginal improvement also, which has served you as a very trusted scorecard over the years for you, that hey, like, am I did I do something better than yesterday? I think it would be both ways, right? Like one is external manifestation. Is my product looking better, for instance? Could be just an example, a question.
Yeah,
And also like that sense of satisfaction within you. Like, did I do something better than what I did yesterday? Or did I grow as a person? So I think both, right? The delta I would be both external and internal
absolutely.
indicator. Yeah.
Absolutely. So just if you have time, I'll just give you a little example of this. So I
Yes, yes,
built this.
please.
I built this my family business for so many years. We did very well. We of course made a lot of money and everything else. Uh, but the biggest high for me is some of the products which I developed and which were first time in the world. I call myself inventor of those products, and that gives me so much more happiness and so much more satisfaction that no amount of money can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this captures like a very essence of you, which you've been talking about, curiosity, learning, improvement, problem solving. I think it all comes together. I have one last question for you in the interest of time, because I also want to leave a little room where we can hear a little bit of your poetry, maybe. But one question that I have in mind, again, something I ask all my guests, that after creating so much, solving so many problems, inquiring about life so deeply, right? All of that. Is there still something which keeps you awake at night? Is there something still which you feel I haven't been able to wrap my head around this one? What would that be?
There is so much to learn in this world, and it's always like I need more time. But so I'll tell you what I am. There are a couple of things. One is AI is keeping me awake a lot. I'm very, very anxious about how the world is going to change.
Yeah.
But apart from that, what I'm very curiously learning, and I think the world is learning about it as well, is consciousness. I
Mm,
am learning since last year. I have started learning a lot about quantum physics. Again, I learned about that in school and college, but I'm learning it once again because a lot of development has happened since. And quantum mechanics, quantum physics is also trying to explain consciousness. So I'm going through the science way of understanding consciousness. So it's a very interesting topic. I like it,
yeah.
uh, and so there are lots of interesting ways that we are now learning about our brain,
Mm,
how our brain functions, how our brain learns, responds, how two people brought up the same way think differently, and why is that? So, is there a consciousness? Is there anything else that through quantum movement is getting absorbed by our brains and body, and that's changing? I have tried to explain this to myself, not to anybody else, even about theories about past life, which I don't believe in. But can quantum physics or consciousness explain some of the variations that we see in the world? So this keeps me very curious these days, and I'm
yeah.
not not sleep, but yeah, I'm thinking about it a lot.
Sure, sure, sure. Very, very interesting. And like while you said AI as one and consciousness as the other two themes, I do see linkages between the two as well. And I'm sure you do too, because we are talking
Absolutely.
about a collective mindset or the collective idea that we are chasing. Even AI, the way it is, the expanse with which it's able to affect us, and the human consciousness studies, like it's been a subject of deep interest for me as well. Of course, for different reasons, because I work with people and I like to
Sure.
understand how brain works, etc. But good to know. Good to know that this is a topic of your
Yeah.
interest, and I think we
Yeah. Yeah.
probably can have few more conversations on this going
Sure.
forward. But Pawan, thank you so much for being with us today on this podcast. I don't know, 30 minutes just seem to have flown by, and I still have questions and follow-up questions, which probably we'll talk again. But can I just request you to narrate a couple of lines of something that you've written, which is close to your heart, which is meaningful for you, and maybe on that note we can wrap up.
Okay, I'll do that, and I think that probably will also summarize the way I think and the way I am. This kavita is called Havas, which is lust, and in a positive way. um, I just say it. If I have to explain it, if you think I have to explain, you just let me know. So Havas, पतझड़ है शायद, झड़ती हैं पत्तियां सूखी खाल जैसे, ठंड सी लगती है, हवाएं तो चलती हैं, छू कर निकलती हैं यादें जैसे, पत्तों से विहीन है फिर भी कायम, हिलती हैं सख्त टहनियां जैसे, है फिर भी कायम, है फिर भी कायम हवस जीने की, एक और छलांग, एक और चोट, एक और अध्याय, एक और तालीम, एक और कविता.
Beautiful. So beautiful. And I love the positive spin you have given to a word like this, which usually has like, first connotation would be a negative. But it feels like shiddat. Like it feels like that
Yeah,
junoon shiddat. I
yeah,
mean, I would leave, please interpret it for us in English, maybe in a couple of lines for our
yeah.
audience, which probably is not.
Yeah, so Havas really means lust, and lust for life is what I'm talking about here, right? The poem starts off with my experience as in like getting into chronologically old age. I don't believe I'm old, but chronologically, as you get older, your skin gets drier, and it's compared to maybe a tree whose tree leaves are falling, etc., and things like those. And then you talk about the memories, etc., that goes away, and then you start to feel um, that you're weak and there's nothing else to do in life and whatever. um, but then I said, despite all of this, it's still intact, the lust for life. So I want to jump once more. I want to get injured once more. I want to start a new chapter. I want to learn something new, and I want to write another poem. That's how this.
Wonderful. Beautiful, beautiful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Pawan. And I think some of your infectious spirit has rubbed off on me as well. I'm also feeling a little bit more gung-ho about 2026 and all that I have to do and all the milestones I need to set. But thank you so much for being so open, so candid, sharing your inner journey with us, and really look forward to, another conversation soon. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. It's been so amazing and lovely.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.